In this final screencast in the series on ripping, we are going to create one recording from multiple CDs. This exercise will use many of the techniques that we have seen in previous screencasts, so this screencast will also serve as a review of techniques that you learned previously. For the purpose of this screencast, I'm using a recording with 8 discs. However, I'm only going to rip the first 2 for expedience. As usual, the first step in ripping a recording is to insert the disc into the optical disc drive of the wax box. Then we select the appropriate genre and click Read CD. As usual, when Wax finds metadata at the Internet database MusicBrainz, it automatically loads that metadata into the appropriate fields on the left. As you can see, some of the metadata has appeared in those fields. I'm disappointed to see that the composer name is not complete, so we'll fix that by typing in the first name. And I'm not surprised to see that the identity of the artist was not presented in a form that allowed us to extract it into the artist field. So I'm going to steal it from this line, which I know I'm going to change, so I just use Control X to delete it from that line, and now Control V to paste it in the correct place. The date is often available, but I rarely trust it. It might be, and in fact usually is, the date of the release of the CD rather than the date of the performance, which I feel is more interesting. For this particular set of CDs, the recordings were made over a 5-year period. So what I do in that case is to just specify the period. The next thing I'm going to do is check to see whether we have appropriate cover art, and we do. So MusicBrainz successfully directed us to appropriate cover art, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the final step is to take a look at the tracks. So you can see that the first disc has 10 tracks on it. Now the next step is going to be ripping the second CD. And to do that, I have to insert it in the box. So we're going to pause here while I go change CDs. Okay, I have now inserted the second CD into the optical disc drive of the wax box. And this is where we encounter the one new technique that we're going to use to create one recording from multiple CDs. In the past, whenever we inserted a CD into the wax box, we subsequently pressed this button, Read CD, in order to extract information from the disc. If we were to do that now, as you've seen in the past, the result would be that Wax would overwrite all of the metadata that's here and replace it with metadata for the second disc. Clearly that's not what we want to do. Instead, what we want to do is add the information from the second disc to what's already present without affecting what's already present in any way. To do that, we use the button for Add Tracks, which is labeled Plus Tracks. I'm going to click that now. So now you can see that the tracks for the first disc are still here, but Wax has added to it tracks for the second disc. The next step is to group tracks appropriately. For example, here we have a set of works called the 12 German Dances. So we will make a one track group out of them. Next we have a piano sonata. Here we have 6 German dances. Here's another piano sonata. musical moments, and finally a third sonata. So on this recording, the first two discs provide us with several works. There are 3 sonatas, some German dances, and musical moments. So we're going to use our knowledge of what's present in the recording to come up with a suitable string for the work title. And what I'm going to call the work is simply Sonatas Moments Musicaux and others. So the work metadata is complete, the track metadata is complete, cover is appropriate, we're ready to save. So there you have it. If we go to select mode, you can see the new recording, and you can see that all of the works that we ripped from the 2 discs are present here in track groups. And if we go to play mode, you can see the long form for all of the metadata and the cover art. So that completes the screencast on creating one recording from multiple CDs. The next screencast will deal with creating a recording from imported tracks. See you then.